Welcome to the 57th episode of the series Decolonizing the Mind. Today I'm taking a theoretical issue. Because I was in Venezuela, I've been in Venezuela now for the fourth time and have interesting discussions with friends there. I wanted to discuss the question of the theoretical foundation of the Bolivarian Revolution. I think this is important because the Bolivarian Revolution is an important revolution in Latin America. So let me start first with the question, why is theory important? Theory gives you an instrument on how to decide the course of political movements fighting for liberation. And in the socialist movement, the theoretical framework has been developed by the works of Marx, Engels, and Lenin. So there's a huge body of theoretical literature that discusses political strategy from a theoretical point of view, the analysis of society as capitalist societies. And now with the demise of the Soviet Union, it also led to the demise of Marxism-Leninism as a narrative of liberation. But besides that, there are internal development in the socialist movement, notably in China, where the Communist Party has shown a remarkable flexibility in developing a theoretical framework to guide Chinese political strategy. And I think the most remarkable theoretician in this regard is Deng Xiaoping. I have the 3-volume selected works of Deng Xiaoping, and if you study them, you can see that the theoretical contributions of Deng are firmly rooted in Marxism-Leninism. So when he develops an argument for reforms and opening up the Chinese economy to private enterprises and the introduction of markets, he used Marxist concepts. So he starts with the basic question, what's the aim of socialism? So he says, the aim of our revolution is to liberate and expand the productive forces. Now, the productive forces are basically the economy, technology, everything that produces the output of a society in terms of material goods and services. He says, without expanding the productive forces, making our country prosperous and powerful, and improving the living standards of the people, our revolution is just empty talk. So he says, if a socialist revolution can improve the life of people, what are we talking about? The Gang of Four, this is a people allied to Mao Zedong's wife, and 3 other people who initiated and led the Cultural Revolution, which was a disaster in China. He says the Gang of Four said it is better to be poor under socialism than to be rich under capitalism. So Deng says this is absurd. Of course we don't want capitalism, but neither do we want to be poor under socialism. So that's a crazy choice that they produce. So now, how do you develop the productive forces? And he uses a concept, the concept of socialist market economy, which is not there in Marxism, Leninism, but the concepts of productive forces are there. And Deng says, it is wrong to maintain that the market economy exists only in capitalist society and that there's only capitalist market economy. Why can't we develop a market economy under socialism? Developing a market economy doesn't mean practicing capitalism. While maintaining a planned economy as the mainstay of our economic system, we are also introducing a market economy, but it is a socialist market economy. Although a socialist market economy is similar to a capitalist one in method, there are also differences between them. The socialist market economy mainly regulates interrelations between state-owned enterprises, between collective-owned enterprises, and even between foreign capitalist enterprises. But in the final analysis, this is all done under socialism in a socialist society. We can't say that the market economy exists only under capitalism. Market economy was in its embryonic stages as early as feudalist society. We can surely develop it under socialism. Similarly, taking advantage of the useful aspect of capitalist countries, including the methods of operation and management, doesn't mean that we will adopt capitalism. Instead, we use those methods in order to develop the productive forces under socialism. As long as learning from capitalism is regarded as no more than a means to an end, it will not change the structure of socialism or bring China back to capitalism. Now, he calls his theoretical framework socialism with Chinese characteristics. Now let's go to the Bolivarian Revolution. It's probably after the Cuban Revolution the most important revolution in Latin America. In 1998, Hugo Chavez and his Socialist Party won the presidential elections in Venezuela, and since then the party has been in power by winning most of the elections, presidential, state government, municipality, parliament. They've won all the presidential elections and controlled the national government on the basis of presidential elections. They have lost an election for the parliament, and they have lost elections, I think, for state government, 2 or 3 elections they lost. So they have been in power, but what is the theoretical foundation of it? And if you are searching for texts, they might be there. I'm not, fluent in Spanish, so there might be a lot, but I base myself on English sources. And then I go back to my dear friend of Curacao, Jean Enriquez, a leader of the social movement in Curacao. She used the concept of theory in the flesh. Theory in the flesh means that social movements and their leaders have a theoretical concept of how to move forward in the struggle. So they don't develop their strategy out of the blue or just by spontaneous thinking. So they have a theoretical foundation on which they build their policies. And they might have it in speeches, in texts, but most of it is in the practice. They have analysis, a clear analysis of the problem of the movement, the way to tackle them, and the strategy for liberation, but they might not articulate it theoretically, meaning that they take into context other theories. So if you want to study their theoretical conceptions, you need to study the thinking behind the policies. You'll look at the policies and then try to figure out what is the theoretical framework behind it. And in Venezuela, Hugo Chavez introduced an important concept, a theoretical concept, the concept of socialism of the 21st century. It's not just a phrase, it's a theoretical concept. And the main values of 21st century socialism, according to Chavez, are liberty, equality, social justice, and sustainability. And the way to achieve this is by democratic means. The only way, Chavez says, to save the world is through socialism, but the socialism that exists within a democracy. There's no dictatorships there. And he means the parliamentary democratic system of Venezuela. And if you talk about the socialism of the 21st century, obviously you come to mind what was the socialism of the 20th century, which was the socialism of the Soviet Union. And Chavez gives an evaluation. He says, let us remember what happened in the Soviet Union. He says, in the Soviet Union, there was never democracy. There wasn't socialism. It was diverted and the leaders didn't realize it. If they realized it, they were incapable of changing things and it became a beaten empire. The fault doesn't lie solely with the Soviet Union. The blame also lies with all of the external aggression, economic sabotage, biological and bacterial wars, bombing and explosions in the Soviet oil industry, as well as the contradictions, the deficiencies, the culture. That's why the socialism of the 21st century, which has resurfaced here as if from the dead, is something new. It has to be truly new, and one of the things that is fundamentally new in our model is the democratic character, a new democratic hegemony which obliges not to impose but rather to convince, and that is where we are coming from. The subject of the media, communications of our arguments, so that the whole country is aware of what we are presenting today, of how we can achieve it, of how we can make it happen. A change in culture, an impact on the cultural level is vital for the revolutionary process and for the construction of a 21st century of socialist democracy in Venezuela. So the 21st century saw basically the demise of socialism, and Schaff is saying we could resurrect socialism of the 21st century, but then it's in line with you come to power through elections by convincing the masses of the people of a better policy. Now, it's a theoretical concept and it has far-reaching theoretical and practical implications. The first implication is that there's no general concept of socialism that is applied to all countries in all stages of modern history. You can't say we fight for socialism, meaning that we fight for the same thing in Venezuela, China, Cuba, Grenada, and whatever, or Iran. No, it says there's no general concept. The experience of Venezuela is different from the experience of other socialist countries. Cuba has its own experience with its own peculiar characteristics, so does China. In Venezuela, the Socialist Party proved that power can be taken through parliamentary elections. The second implication is that the Marxist theoretical concepts might be modified in light of the experience of social movements in different countries. So, compare this to the Marxist-Leninist theory of the state, which is best formulated in Lenin's study titled The State and the Revolution, which was written in August and September 1917, just a few months before the October Revolution, when he was hiding for persecution of the provisional government that came to power in the February Revolution of 1917, and that brought down the Tsarist government. So Lenin says about the state is a special organization of force. It is an organization of violence for the suppression of some class. What class must the proletariat suppress? Naturally, the exploiting class, that is the bourgeoisie. The working people need a state only to suppress the resistance of the exploiters, and only the proletariat can direct this suppression, can carry it out. For the proletariat is the only class that is consistently revolutionary, the only class that can unite all the working and exploited people in the struggle against the bourgeoisie in completely removing it. So Lenin says we destroy the capitalist states with its parliamentary system and we replace it by a union of Soviets. Soviets are workers and peasant councils. Now there are no workers and peasant councils in Venezuela to replace the parliament. Instead, Chavez presented a new constitution in 1999, which was approved by 72% of the electorate in a referendum on 15 December of 1999. Now, if you want to compare the concept of the state in that constitution with the liberal theory of the state, in the liberal parliamentary theory of the state, parliamentary democracies are based on the concept of the trias politicas, the separation of powers whereby the state government is divided into three branches: a legislature, an executive, and a judiciary. The legislature is the parliament, the executive is government, and the judiciary is, doing the stuff of law and looking after violators of law. Now, one theoretical innovation in the Bolivarian Revolution is the acknowledgement that there can be more than three powers of government. And in the constitution in Venezuela, they acknowledge five branches of power. And Article 136 says, public power is distributed among municipal power, that of the state's powers, and national power. And national public power is divided into legislative, executive, judicial, like the trias politicas, but then add citizens and electoral. Each of the branches of public power has its own functions, but the organs charged with exercising the same shall cooperate with one another in attaining the ends of the state. So here is the difference with trias politicas. These organs are not totally, they operate separately, but they also cooperate. They also cooperate with one another in order to achieve the ends of the state. And the trias politicas is more or less saying, no, there's a division between the three branches of power. Now, let's look at the citizen power, which Article 274 explains what the tasks are. The article says the organs exercising citizens' power are charged in accordance with this institution and with the law with preventing, investigating, and punishing actions that undermine public ethics and administrative morals. To see to sound management and legality in the use of public property and fulfillment and application of the principle of legality in all of the state administrative activities, as well as to promote education as a process that helps create citizenship together with solidarity, freedom, democracy, social responsibility, and work. So what does it say? It says the citizen power is a branch of government that looks after ethics and morals, that you don't, that the state is not corrupted, misusing public property, that the government and state organs work according to the law. They can't violate the law, so the citizens' power can address these institutions if they are unethical. And at the same time, they also promote solidarity, freedom, democracy, social responsibility. So that's an institution, the citizens' power, that is exercised by the Republican Ethics Councils, consisting of a representative of the People Defender's Office, the Office of the Public Prosecutions, and the Office of the General Controller of the Republic. The People Defender's Office is charged with the furtherance, defense, and oversight of the rights and guarantees established under this Constitution and international treaties on human rights, in addition to defending the legitimate, collective, and diffusive interests of the citizens. Then the other organ of power is the electoral power, and the Constitution says the electoral power is exercised by the National Electoral Council as governing body, and by the latter subordinate organs, which is the National Board of Elections, the Civil Status and Voters Registration Commission, and the Commission on Political Participation and Financing, with organization and functioning as established under the pertinent organic law. So this branch, the electoral power, is responsible for organizing all the elections: President, National Assembly, state government, because Venezuela is a federal state, and municipalities. The Constitution keeps a multi-party system in place with parliamentary elections, yet it adds something new that broadens the capability of the populations to participate in the decision-making process of the country. So, the Constitution is not a theoretical document, but it is the result of theoretical thinking that Chavez and his companions have produced since they came to power. So if we are looking at the theoretical foundation of the Bolivarian Revolution, then that's the way to go. You start with a practice and try to reason about what theoretical concept can be behind the practice. Now, if you go to my book, you will look at the index on Venezuela and you find some of the quotes here. I've also written an article. If you go to my website, on the section on article, you'll find the article, but you could download the PowerPoint also from the website. And if you want to support the DTM channel, subscribe to it, share it with friends, family, and colleagues, and encourage them to subscribe, get involved in the discussion group, or make a donation. So, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you next week.